Hello, you're hearing the voice of Matty, and if you've clicked on this episode without hearing the first part of this discussion, I would strongly recommend going back and listening to that, as this probably won't make much sense without that context. Otherwise, if you're here from part one, welcome back and enjoy part two.
I guess to look to like the visual component of this, and the ways in which it heightens. I did think I did think the first half of the film was like a lot more grand and ambitious, kind of visually. You definitely felt like most of the money went to that film. Um, I really loved. It got a bit like the Wachowski sisters at points. It got a bit, um, showy, but the stuff of her jumping off of the building into like suddenly being in water, I like stuff like that. There was lots of that shot specifically. I feel like brought out weirdly dark suicidal themes that I didn't get from the album, which is quite depressing.
Yeah.
Like there's a monologue in the film where she's like, "Oh, what are you gonna say at my funeral, knowing that I died because you broke my heart," kind of thing. There's this implication, almost like this Ophelia kind of dying from an infidelity, which is pretty depressing and dark, that came through in the film that I didn't get from the album at the same.
I think part of it is referring to kind of the public suicide that Beyonce was potentially this. Kind of like I was talking about before, how brave this kind of thing is. And obviously, Beyonce's in a very privileged financial position, but as an artist, bearing your soul like this, especially being like a black woman and the way that you can instantly become demonized, I think that is kind of what she's referring to, but I do see what you mean, where it's not
the visual image of Beyonce throwing herself off a building.
That is,
did feel so
yeah, no, I do get that.
I see what you mean. It could also be a metaphorical suicide.
I definitely think that the visual album does just ascend in the second half. I think, yeah. So in that second half, it is incredibly visually powerful, and all of the imagery that was chosen to be a part of that is incredibly powerful. And like, I feel like that was it's not the stuff that it's not all of the stuff that I like the most, but it was just kind of on another level for me when I was watching it. And there's kind of, especially towards the turn of the album with Sandcastles and songs like that, it's just another level from that point on for me.
Interesting. I do think it's more intimate than the first half, but I don't think it's like qualitative. It wasn't qualitatively better. It was kind of it maintained a consistent quality for me. But I do agree. I do think it was more intimate. It was less harsh, that second half of the film. And yeah, she brought in the home videos, and there was all the kind of parent
Dude,
stuff.
that stuff got me. That stuff got me real hard. I don't know. And with All Night, when it was with the cutting between all the different footage of couples, like, I don't know, I love the way the visual album just dips between formats to just employ whatever's most effective at that moment. It has just kind of it has a very internally cohesive visual presentation of jumping around to things, but in terms of like formal convention of mediums, I love that it just has no regard for that. And it really, yeah, it was really something else.
Yeah. Another thing about All Night, since you brought up All Night and how we've kind of been arguing it's sort of like the end of the narrative for the album.
Yeah.
So I really like how the album starts with the end of Pray You Catch Me. It's the line, what are you doing, my love? And this initial moment of like noticing something's wrong and being like, what? And then
Yeah.
all night ends with how I missed you, my love. The sense that you've been let back in, or you can see them again. I that bookend is really, really nice. I really
Yeah,
like that.
for sure. And I think like even the stuff with her and Jay-Z, where they're kind of being intimate and like loving, but even that
Yeah,
really worked for me. I
when they put the sunglasses on.
yeah,
They,
dude, like I it was really nice. And I think she really does sell you that question of, can you come back from it, for sure. Not just because of imagery like that. I think imagery is just like a
oh man,
addition. Obviously
it's
it's a
like
case by case basis, but yeah.
yeah, it's pretty tragic, man. I've been rewatching like Mad Men recently,
Mm.
and I'm listening to a Mad Men podcast while I watch it, and Don Draper is an unfaithful husband in Mad Men, and in the podcast, one of them's watching it for the first time, and every episode she keeps like having faith that John Draper might get better, and then he just gets worse, and it's like constant disappointment, and just knowing men like Jay-Z, just knowing how trash these dudes
Yeah.
can be, it really it's really sad listening to this album, like the hopefulness of the like last half. It's just like, man, I don't trust Jay-Z. Like, I really don't trust this guy. I don't trust this guy. I don't think it was just like one woman that
No,
he's
I
met. I think
know.
these people are habitual
Yeah.
serial. Not Gucci.
No, I do know what you mean. And like my love for this album's like internal message makes me want to have faith in him, because I think the conclusion is so lovely. I do think that this is one of my favorite. All Night is one of my favorite love songs, because
So,
it's not just about their relationship as well. It's about just love, and it's wonderful. And I'll get into it in a bit, but yeah, at the same time, I'm like, cheesy.
yeah, it's just tough because like from a male perspective,
Mm,
like men who cheat and then make a really sad album about how
yeah,
like it's almost more alarming that 444 is super emotional because it's really easy for men to weaponize um introspection and like
yeah.
emotionality. Like, hey, I know I did you wrong, but I got all these feelings. About it. It's like really easy,
Yeah,
and
I've never shown you
and
these
I
feelings
think I'm
before,
just
so it's now a
yeah.
big thing when I show them to you. Let's
And it's
reconcile.
tough because those feelings are real. Men do be sad, but you can take that sad and turn it into a weapon and like kind of get
Mm,
off the hook and create this hopeful feeling.
mhm.
I just am super cynical about relationships like this, and I don't really know if many relationships could come back
Yeah,
from times like this.
I think
I
that's
think
super
it
valid. I think it's super
breaks
valid.
something. So I really like the hopeful ending of this album, but I hope they're okay.
Yeah,
Like in real life.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think it's time to wrap up with our favorite and least favorite track and our recommendations. So I'm going to start off with my favorite song, because I don't know, actually,
Right.
to be honest. Okay, so I think this album is near perfect. And so it's one of those situations where, your favorite song, my favorite songs this week will not be my favorite songs next week. So take this with a pinch of salt. But here we go. So first up is All Night, which is probably my favorite song on the album. On the album? On the album. On the album. The harmony
Yeah.
echo. The harmony. Sorry, that
Come on.
I don't know where. Cause...
You bimbo.
Okay. Let's brew this thing. The harmony.
Kiss up and rub up and feel up.
The harmony echo is just so beautiful, and it catches me off guard every time because of its just like ascending pitch and the multiple voices in the recording. It is simply enchanting. And the structure of the song really appeals to me as well, because it's this fresh air towards the end of the album. Um, and it's gorgeous, and the album has been so challenging, and so it just feels incredibly rewarding. And it plays really beautifully into the film as well, because it breaks from the surrealist elements of the film up until this point. Like I said, like up until this point, the film's been dancing around a lot from its imagery, and it's
very impressionistic.
yeah, it's really corny, but it's just a series of just really lovely images of just people in love in all different forms. Like the moment where we see like Beyonce filming her pregnant belly, and then it flips up and she's smiling, and it's
very nice.
It's just so wonderfully beautiful after this album, and so it just feels incredibly earned, and it's so beautiful. Next up is Pray You Catch Me, which is on the opposite end of the spectrum of just being pain and pain. But
the fourth main emotion.
This is a song though that gets more beautiful every time I listen to it in its own sad way, and that's definitely a result of its simplicity. It's actually like a really bold opener to this album, and really caught me off guard the first time I listened to it. But it leaves this huge impression as a result, and it just plays a massive part in like how you feel about this album going through it. And I'm late to this, obviously, of course, but I think how direct it is with its discussions of infidelity is like chilling and shocking to this day for someone like Beyonce, and she puts you in the wrong perspective by using the first person as well, and so that goes all the more further. And
I do.
No, go for it.
I do agree. Like it is a pretty bold moment, and it feels really voyeuristic to listen to. And it is really embarrassing and difficult to talk about being cheated on. Like it is just really embarrassing to admit that you got cheated on.
Yeah,
it makes you not fun.
Voyeuristic is
bravo to Beyonce.
Voyeuristic is absolutely the word, because and like I was talking about with like putting you in the wrongdoer's perspective, it's kind of like you are doing something wrong by listening to this song in a really weird way. But yeah, amazing opener, and I love that I never would have seen it coming from this album in a million years before I listened to it. And last up is Freedom. What really sets this one apart from my other two picks is that it is just an explosion. And when I first sat down to write my notes, I didn't know where to start, because there's a lot going on in this album, but sonically, this is, like I said, an explosion. But in that, every element is so perfectly calculated to fit in with each other. Like the way that Beyonce's voice interacts with the marching drum beat as she sings, I think it's Won't Bring Pain on Myself, is exhilarating. And just because it's bombastic and loud, it doesn't mean it's any less carefully orchestrated. And I think its sequencing is so important as well in how calculated this is, because both what precedes it and follows it is so perfect. Because after this is All Night, and that just feels like the release of, it feels like the flow of love after a release of anger, and once a release of righteous anger, I'll say. And Freedom is set up beautifully by James Blake's performance on Forward. And obviously
you like James Blake?
Yeah, no, I knew this would be a thing. And yeah, he does an amazing. and I love his voice. He has a wonderful.
Yeah, he played a big role in writing some of the piano melodies in "Pray You Catch Me" as well.
Oh, yeah, you know what? That song does have incredibly strong James Blake vibe, especially the very beginning as well, with like the kind of weird sounding synthy elements. Anyway,
comes on like a sound. Yeah.
And so yeah, Freedom is so perfectly set up by that. It's such a tender moment, and obviously with the visual album as well, this is the moment where they chose to show the mothers of Eric Garner and Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown. And so when Freedom comes, it is just something else. And of course, talking about this song wouldn't be complete without talking about Kendrick's performance, which eventually devolves into the best Kendrick, which is unhinged Kendrick, but also amazingly angry and eloquent Kendrick. It's amazing because he just falls into this rage and it's lost in this sea of drums and trumpets and sampling, and it really is beautiful. So those are my favorite tracks. My least favorite, picking this was of course really difficult, as it often is with an album like this. But so I guess I'll pick Love Drought, because it was the one when I was picking favorites, I was like, wait, what does that one sound like? It was the only one that
I don't know. Love Drought kind of slaps. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
That's kind of
hang on, because I was like, what does it sound like? And then I listened to it, and then I was like, oh yeah, it's this one. I love this one because the plucky synth notes in the background are so enchanting, and her voice during the chorus with that echo effect again and again. It seems to twist round into this gorgeous whirlwind. It's honestly some synesthesia shit. Like I can see I don't know how to describe it, but God, one of my favorite choruses on the album. Yeah. And like, so yeah, that's my least favorite on the album.
I guess two things I'll look at if we have a recommendation is I'll bring it up when I'm talking about my favorite tracks. But yeah, I think there is a lot of indie pop influence on this album. And yeah, a song like Love Drought was just so weird hearing a Beyonce album because it really just feels like a dreamy indie pop song, and it's really weird.
Catchy vibes.
Another thing is there's the constant thing of like making these really airy, lovely, sweet songs where you try to like bring back a faith in love. You can feel Beyonce doing that. And I'm so happy I'm not currently in a marriage where I know my partner has cheated on me, maybe is still doing it, and I have to keep every day convincing myself that this is worth it and love is real. Like that constant struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vomit. Oh. Praying for you, B.
We love you. But yeah, on that note, I do think Beyonce is the only person I can understand standing. I think it's the only person where I'm like, okay, you know what? I get it. I get your hobby being celebrating this person. I know we talked about the like economic stuff, but she is like, I know this is not a new statement, nothing fresh at the table, but she is amazing. She is amazing, I think. Anyway, on that note, would I recommend this album? Yes, of course I'd recommend this album. It's almost redundant at this point, but like I've said, this album is at the same time about so much, but also about something for people so specifically. But still for a lot of people, obviously. And I don't think she could have done a better job executing the vision that she had for this. And I think it's one of the greats. I think it's truly something magical. And I can't say enough good things about it. And I'm going to stop now because I've been going on. And I want to hear Josh's favourite and least favourite tracks. So Josh, what are your favourite and least favourite tracks? Also, or do you have any thoughts on what I've just said?
Yeah, two kind of scattered thoughts. They're both related and unrelated things you've said. You know in All Night, I couldn't find for the life of me the credit of who did it, but I love the harmonized, like distorted, fuzzy male vocal in the background that loops during the refrain. It's really nice and addictive, and I don't really know what he's saying, but it's really good. I really like it. Another thing, which is completely unrelated, is have you heard the song "Lemonade" by Sophie?
No.
But yeah, there's a song called Lemonade on that, and that's been in my life since before Beyonce's Lemonade came out. And I can't hear Lemonade in a music context without thinking
Sophie?
Lemonade, lemonade, Candy Boys, Candy. Literally, that's all I hear for the past 2 days. And that's a defect I have. And on to the actual kind of album.
The thing we're reviewing.
Making the most stressful editing experience for you. I picked my 3 favorite tracks. I picked the 3 tracks that I think embody like 3 aspects of the album, which I really love. I don't really want to put them in any sort of order, so I'm just going to go in order where they show up in the album. But I do think these are 3 different mission statements in the album that I really love.
I love that.
So first up is the track "Hold Up." I think this is just like a perfect pop song. Like top 40 radio pop. This is just a perfect pop song. And one thing I really love about this track is how it really embodies the collaborative spirit of an album like Lemonade, which almost reminds me of something like Gorillaz, where like by Plastic Beach, Damon Albarn is so influential and wealthy, but he can just decide, hey, I want fucking Snoop Dogg on the same album as like Lou Reed or some shit like that. Like, and this album has a similar vibe. Like, just look at the history of the writing credits on Hold Up is so fucking trippy. Like Ezra Koenig of Vampire Weekend wrote the and this came into being in 2011. Ezra Koenig was listening to the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, who have the song Maps, which is a gorgeous, amazing song, and the music video for Maps makes me fucking destroys me. That song got me through lots of breakups. And he was like, what if instead of wait, they don't love you like I love you, it was hold up, they don't love you like I love you. Again, Ezra Koenig's genius. And then this kind of eventually he gave that to Beyonce, and she was like, okay, this is the hook on the lead single, or the second lead single on my album. So you got the Yeah Yeah Yeahs filtered through Vampire Weekend, and then also Father John Misty.
Huh?
Yep, Father John Misty has a very big writing credit. He is credited as having written the first verse and the refrain, the what's worse, looking jealous or crazy,
You've just like completely changed how I see.
Yep, that was Father John Misty. He legit wrote that, and he talks about it in an interview. He said that like he recorded himself singing the jealous or crazy line. He was like, this is trash, I can't send this to Beyonce. I need to figure out something. But I think he just like ran out of time and ended up sending it anyway. And she ended up like really liking it and using it in the track.
I just can't imagine Father saying that refrain. Especially like with the like reggae kind of thing that the song has going as well.
Yeah. He's very good at pastiche and writing outside of himself.
Yeah, he doesn't take himself too seriously.
It's just amazing. The only 2 Father John Misty co-writing credits are Lady Gaga and Beyonce.
Wait, what?
So fucked up. Anyway, so yeah, Hold Up, on top of being a perfect pop song, I love the collaborative spirit of this track. It really embodies the feeling of trying to convince your lover who is cheating on you, like, hey, I've given you my there's a quote from Before Midnight. I've given you my entire life. I have nothing left to give. This kind of like, I'm the mother of your children. I love you. Why are you doing this? And like, just not understanding. Like that pain in this song is really good, and like contrasted with the fun, playful, bubbly pop writing. It's just a really
oh my god! And you listen to the song, can't help but picture Beyonce in the video, just tearing down the street, fucking shit up with the like just the big old smile on her face in that dress.
Honestly, that's one of my favorite videos. That dress is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't really like wearing dresses, but I would wear that dress if I was like Harry Styles level of fame.
You would look
and then
epic.
articles to be written about me, about how cool it is I'm subverting masculinity, like Harry Styles did when he wore it.
So much better than Harry Styles. You're so much better than him.
But yeah, Hold Up is just an iconic. It's just iconic. Like, you know, it's iconic.
It is. Anyway, it is iconic.
Next up, 6 Inch featuring The Weeknd.
Yeah, good one. Yeah,
I think where Hold Up embodies kind of the perfect pop song element of the album. I think 6 Inch embodies like the most cinematic moment on the album. It's got one of my favorite visual component parts in that film, where like you have the camera. It almost looks like a Gaspar Noé. It almost looks like a Gaspar Noé shot of like darkness, and then zooming into like a red door as this like fuzzy sound intensifies, and then 6 Inch kicks in. It's a luxurious kind of exuberant track. It's so cinematic and exciting.
It gets me heated. It gets me heated.
I was a bit confused with the Weeknd feature at first, because The Weeknd's a deeply problematic artist, and I apologize for being an avid listener of him. But as an avid listener of The Weeknd, there are certain like lyrical motifs in The Weeknd that I associate with certain things. So, for example, when The Weeknd writes about quote unquote professionals, he's usually writing about sex workers. So when he was singing, "She don't gotta give it up, she professional, she mixing up the ace of the Hennessy," I generally thought this song was about like a sex worker who was just grinding and like working it and like living life. And I realized, man, that's probably not what the song is about. It's just because The Weeknd's singing it, and lots of his music is about. Kissland is basically a concept album about falling in love with a sex worker. Like, so,
right.
Yeah, that confused the theme for me. But hey, The Weeknd did this thing, and it's a rare track where.
Well, there's that Beyonce line where she says she's worth every dollar, she's worth every minute. And when I heard that, I was like, "Is this a sex work song?" And then I looked into it, and there's like nothing else in the song to suggest it. So I guess it's just, you know, she's just worth a lot of money. But yeah. So yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah. But anyway, that's it's a rare track. Normally, The Weeknd totally steals songs. Like if he's featured on a song, it just becomes a Weeknd song. To the point where like you get like edits on YouTube of like this song, but only The Weeknd. And this is a rare time where Beyonce really outshines him, and not that it's rare for Beyonce to outshine The Weeknd, but just that him to feature on a song where he isn't the focal point. Like, yeah, she really outshines him, and god damn it, the way the track builds up, the second half is so like climactic, and her in the car and the red, and it's such visceral kind of primal energy. And I love kind of how, again, the power fantasy of the track is subverted into like this vulnerable weakness, where like the line, you know, "You'll always come back because I am Beyonce," and it's like, hell yeah. But then it's just like, come back. Come back. Like, I love that like dissolving. Very, very good. And it just feels like this cinematic centerpiece of the album that kind of gets all of the themes across in like one place.
And also in the visual album, like if you look on Wikipedia and other like kind of music cataloging sites, it says there's only 11 chapters in the album, like, you know, when it says intuition, denial, anger, but in a split second of 6 Inch, it flashes up with like a burning room and loss. And so that fits really, I love that detail so much. It fits so like
That
perfectly.
was one of my favorite, like that was one of my favorite editing moments in the film.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, lost, and then it went away.
Because she's trying to bury it herself as well. And yeah, it's
that's a good point. Originally, the way I felt about it is it was kind of like being dropped into this fucking dark emotion. Like when you're in a relationship and you're like, everything's fine, I'm really happy, and then you get like a message and you're like, oh okay, now everything's not okay, and that's like the lost moment, and then you're just dropped into it. But yeah, I do see you mean of like trying to bury it with the flashing lights. And yeah, it's a great track. And like, before I move on, it is amazing that, like, in my mind, The Weeknd is one of the grimiest, muttiest fucking music.
Just like filthy. It's despicable.
Music is grim. Yeah, why I love it, in all fairness. It is filthy. And it was really weird to see him in like this context of like something empowering and hopeful. And like, I don't even think he swears in this verse. Or references a drug. Like it's amazing. So yeah, wow. Anyway,
what a moment.
I can't wait for our weekend. And then finally, Sandcastle, the last favorite. This is the soft this in terms of the final kind of bit of this album I love, the soft girl elements of this album. This is the soft as in like fragile, gentle, not in any way associated with soft boy in a pejorative sense, but just kind of the softer moment. Sandcastle is really the epitome of that for me. And like, you know, it really feels like it kind of, again, a lot of the time feels like it's strong and indie, and Sandcastles does really feel like something out of like a Cat Power or a Feist or even a James Blake kind of sing-songwriter background. And yeah, I love the imagery of a sandcastle. The idea of building a relationship is like building a sandcastle, and it's done with like all this like naivety and like innocence of like, I just love you so much. But it's that very naivety and innocence that makes it so fragile or feels so vulnerable. Like it's really scary to build a sandcastle relationship, because the guy can decide to be a dick and like kick it down very easily. And that kind of vulnerability, I thought that metaphor got that across really well.
It works on a lot of really poetic levels. Yeah,
exactly. And lyrically, this track like really moved me. Visual imagery or like storytelling of like dishes smashed on the counter from our last encounter, like whoa, like heavy violent stuff, as well as the idea of like ripping a picture out of a frame and scratching someone's name and face. That imagery is always really painful for me. It reminds me of like there's a scene in Twin Peaks: The Return where Sarah Palmer, Laura Palmer's mother, is just scratching a picture of Laura Palmer to forget like her dead daughter, because it's so fucking painful. And that thing of just trying to like, I don't know, attack a picture to deal with something in real life is something so futile and helpless about that really moves me. This angry, futile gesture. And yeah, the refrain of every promise doesn't work out that way, and this kind of finality, kind of deflation. It's a very sad song, and it very nice. And I feel like a song like this could have easily been kind of corny or overproduced. But she did a good job at doing like an honest to God acoustic track, and it went over really well.
And what is your least favorite track?
My least favorite track is, you said some cool stuff about this track kind of reclaiming rock and roll as a black sound, but I gotta go with Don't Hurt Yourself. I think Beyonce's performance is incredible. Lyrically, this track is really exciting and fiery. You can watch my fat ass twist boy as I bounce to the next stick boy. Keeping money, I got my own. Keep a bigger smile on my face being alone. I love shit like that. That goes hard. I love those lyrics. I just think the Jack White is super corny. I think it's really corny whenever pop artists or rap artists collaborate with Jack White. I really don't like it. The second disc of "Thank You for Your Service" by Tribe Called Quest is a prolonged collaboration with Jack White, and I really like that second disc. But every time that fucking Jack White guitar comes in, I really fucking hate it. I like the White Stripes. I just don't like Jack White outside of the White Stripes that much, if I'm honest with you.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a corny track to me. I don't like the guitars on it. It's just
I can
lame.
see this track being corny.
Yeah, Beyonce herself is doing a really good job. Yeah, just I'm more into Jack White. The don't hurt yourself. Ugh, Whoa. No way, I'm good.
Kind of Dwight energy, like very low key Dwight. We need to know we're bringing up Office references. I love The Office, but that we need to end the review.
It's okay.
Would you recommend Beyonce's Lemonade?
I'm not done on
sorry.
One last thing about Don't Hurt Yourself. This isn't really like a critique. It's just something I thought was interesting. Is there's a line where Jack White says, when you love me, you love yourself, love God herself. Pretty cool line. And I wonder if Jack White wrote it and Beyonce liked the line but didn't want to change it, but was also worried about it. Because in the film, there's almost like a similar to like Michael Jackson's Thriller. I in no way endorse the occult. The part in the film where she's like, God is God, I am not God. I'm not saying I'm God. Don't attack me, Christian fan base.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite funny, and I wonder if that was just like worried about potential backlash from the Jack White line.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Which is fair. You wouldn't want that to take away from your album. You know, worked real hard on it and shit. So yeah.
Yeah. It definitely felt like a PR moment. Like,
no, it's a PSA. It's a PSA moment.
Hey, you got to put this in so you don't get. Yeah, don't do a Jesus. Yeah, overall, I give this like a really decent recommend. I really enjoy this album. I think combined with the film, it's a really exciting and engaging album, and it's really compelling like how ambitious this is. Like taking that initial incident of infidelity, capturing that small moment in Pray Catch Me of like looking at your lover and being like something's wrong here, and kind of spiraling that out into feelings of insecurity, jealousy, anger, into this grand statement about like womanness and blackness. Like it's really exciting and really compelling and worth all the attention it got. And I really love it for that. And I love how the vulnerability on this album is always placed alongside self-aggrandizing and kind of self-awareness, like constant self-awareness about how you come. Very, very, very good album. I really like it. It's a decent recommend because I do think it could be more consistent. I mean, for me, tracks like Freedom, Forward, Don't Hurt Yourself, and Sorry just weren't as cutting edge as the rest of the album. But I don't have many problems with this, and I think it's very cohesive stuff.
Amazing.
And one last thing about like music films is
God, there was so many like album films get released so low key that like it's so weird. Like, did you know that Drake, for one of his albums, I can't remember which one, but it had like a film attached to it? I think it was Views or something.
Yeah, I think it was.
And I saw it, I was like, oh my god, an Apple Music, that's like a legit film attached to this album. And I didn't watch it.
Yeah, no.
It was so bad. I like skipped through it, and I think it's called Please Forgive Me. And and at the beginning it was like some Drake like soft boy shit. And then I skipped to like 45 minutes in, and he was like in a gun battle. There was like some gangster drama. He was bleeding. I was like, what the fuck is
this man
this?
wants to be a top boy so bad.
It was so crazy, and I've never seen anyone talk about that film. I almost like it was a fever dream that I had, but it definitely
it's out there. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of our Lemonade album review, and to not end the episode on a negative note, yeah, I hope we've shown why this is such an important album, and personally for me, I'm completely fulfilled in my wish the moment that Lemonade was when it released. It really is just seminal and magnificent, and I love it. I love it so much. So we've talked about some kind of like quite serious stuff recently on the movie end. I feel like, you know, Shirley was fun in moments and things like that, but it's still very, you know, it's very like cinema. And yeah, so I just wanted to go back just to a old familiar and have a little fun, but also talk about something that has some meat on its bones for discussion. So we're going to be talking about Frank Darabont's The Mist, and hopefully, you know, not just be a really pale imitation of the great Red Letter Media review. That's one of my favorite of theirs. I really like that video. But yeah, I just...
Is that the Stephen King film?
That's the Stephen King film. The one that...
Have you seen The Mist before?
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times. I've seen The Mist a couple times. So yeah.
It's gonna be epic.
So yeah, I just wanted to like kick back and just chat about The Mist for a bit, basically. You know, yeah. we've earned a relax. We've earned a relax. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And thank you very much for listening if you've made it to the end. And if you've enjoyed, you know, give us a like and maybe subscribe if you want to keep up. It really does help us out. But yeah, either way, thank you. And I really hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week. Do you want to...
Goodbye. Don't let anyone treat you the way that Jay-Z treated you. So.